Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Stargrinding with Remblob, the greatest internet web series on YouTube. It's been a while, and I feel like I say that every time, but there's good reason for it to have been a while. There was a whole summer. I went home. I did stuff when I was home. I went to Vegas. I went to Colorado. I went home, and now I'm back. I'm back in my normal recording spot. Silk Song finally came out. A lot happened. A lot happened between this episode and the last one, but I'm not going to talk about Silk Song. And I probably am not going to talk about my trips either, because there's something a lot more, I don't know about important. Well, it's probably important, but a lot more interesting to me on my mind. But yeah, a lot's happened. a lot's happened. A lot's happened in the world and in my life. And I'm gonna talk about it. So let's go. So I'm sure the first thing, easy question to answer normally. How am I doing? And I think I'm doing okay. I'm not doing the greatest. But generally I'm doing really good. I was feeling pretty bad about myself a little earlier in the week, but I think I realized I'm actually in a much better spot than I could be in, you know. But I think I'm in an okay spot right now. It's mostly just I'm a little bit behind in school, and I know it's like, really, you're behind in school already? But it's like Silk Song came out right before my term started, and so I wasn't in really a school mood, so I didn't really do that much work. But it's still early, and I think I can catch up. I'm working on it right now, and I think I've been doing stuff. I haven't just been lazing around depressed all day like I have been in the past. But the main thing is that the main reason why I'm recording this episode in the first place is to talk about the idea that basically most media is like poison. It's poison that's keeping me dumb and stupid and taking away the spark in my eye that's supposed to motivate me to create stuff. And the main reason for that is like what I think I've talked about this before, and I did come to realize it again, but like right before this, I re-listened to my episode about self-improvement, the one where I was like, oh, I'm so happy that I'm finally feeling good in my life. I'm feeling secure. I'm feeling like I can start giving time to my passions again. And how I've like built good habits and everything. And there's a sad irony to that when you know that like literally a week after that, I got news that my grandpa was dying, and then he died like 2 weeks after I got that news. and that sucks. And it made the term go badly because of it, and it's the kind of thing that happens in your life that really makes you consider if life really means anything to begin with, you know? Because I was making so much progress towards like taking care of myself and doing all that, and then it's just erased. I fell back into bad habits again. But now that I've had a fresh start again, even though the very beginning went kind of badly, I think I've reset, and now I'm like, and finally really entering like school mode and taking care of myself and everything. Dude, there's actually a lot to talk about, man. So much so that I'm like, where do I start? So I guess I can start from when I got home from Colorado and Vegas. I guess I can touch upon that vacation, that trip a little bit right now. So actually, I might just start. Where do I start, man? It's a lot. I actually have a lot to talk about, man. This might actually be a really long episode. Basically, I wasn't feeling very good at all towards the end of my summer here in Oregon. I felt like kind of icky and like I was pretty depressed, and it's hard because it's hard to remember why I was feeling like that, but like even in the like post 24-hour stream especially, I was feeling like, ugh, I just like want to go home already, you know, and I was just like not treating myself very well. But being on vacation and this is actually an important element. Going to Colorado was for a wedding. My cousin got married, which is kind of insane because he's 2 months older than me. But yeah, my cousin got married, and it was a cool experience because I got to see, it was kind of like the opposite of when my grandpa was basically like on his deathbed, right? Because there I got to see a bunch of my family again that I hadn't seen in a while, and it was nice to like reunite with them, even if it was on bad circumstances. But for this wedding, I got to see them again under happy circumstances, and it was a much greater time. The wedding was a lot of fun. Seeing all my family members and my cousins again was really cool. And it was just really awesome. I really liked that trip. And then I went to Vegas, and I have a lot of opinions on Vegas that I'm not going to get into. But basically, Vegas made me wish that I had just gone back home immediately. But yeah, I really liked the Colorado part, and there are parts of the Vegas trip that were fun too. Like I went to the Valley of Fire National Park in Nevada, and I got to see a bunch of cool rocks basically, and some cool wildlife as well. Like that was cool. And I ate some pretty good food in Vegas as well. Didn't gamble, so I actually just don't really have that much to talk about. That isn't like hater stuff when it comes to Vegas. But yeah, after I got back, I kind of realized something, which is when I'm back home in Hawaii, I'm often like really bored and I don't really know what to do with my time, because it's like I don't have like a gaming PC, I don't have a gaming setup. None of my friends are in none of my college friends are in Hawaii. And it just feels kind of lonely. But I didn't really realize this in the moment. I more realized it when I got back here. Is that like, I know like I say I realized this more when my grandpa died, but family is just like so important, man. And especially it's important when you have a good one, obviously. And I'm very lucky to have a good one, but like seeing my grandma again was really nice, and just being able to be with my family, see my cat, see my brother and talk to him about stupid stuff, like it's really nice, and I really value that. And during winter break, I will definitely take advantage of that very much. And it's something I really enjoyed doing was I hung out with my grandma a lot. I just spent a lot of time with my grandma. She would go on like walks in the morning, and then I would always go on walks with her, and then we'd go back to her house, and then she'd make me breakfast, which was very nice of her. And we'd like do the morning crossword together and just like talk about stuff, both at her house and on our walks that we'd go on together. And that was like really nice. It was really fulfilling for me to like, I would consider myself pretty close to my grandma, but like still going on walks with her like that was like, even if we didn't talk during them, it's like I feel like a stronger bond with her now, and I definitely will continue going on walks like that with her when I go home for a winter break. And when I was at home, I also watched a bunch of anime. I got into Uma Musume. The Uma Musume anime, which that could be a whole separate episode on its own as well, or a hefty segment of another episode on its own. But yeah, Uma Musume, peak. It's so good. It has no reason to be as good as it is. But I also rewatched The Eminence in Shadow, which is just it's just so good. It's like it's a satire of like an isekai anime, and that it was really good. I watched it along with my favorite anime reaction channel. They do really good like discussions about the episodes afterwards and stuff. I've mentioned them a lot. Semblance of Sanity, shout out. And like in the moment when I'm there, when I was there, I'm still like kind of bored a lot of the time because I would just like sit in my room and watch YouTube most of the time, and occasionally I would like play Isaac or like a little bit of Slay the Spire as well. I replayed Hollow Knight to prepare for Silksong while I was back home. Just like games that I knew I could run on my computer, but I spent a lot of time being like, especially like Silksong came out while I was there, and I didn't want to experience Silksong on my shitty laptop, so I wanted to wait for when I got back here to my good computer. So I was a lot of the times like, oh, I want to be playing Silksong right now. I want to be like, I want to get back into Dark Souls again. I want to play like a bunch of Celeste maps again, and that's all unavailable to me. But now that I'm back here, and now that I have access to everything, I did play Silksong, which that Silksong is gonna be a separate episode all on its own for sure. But I kind of realized like I have all of this access to these cool games, and I did play some of them, but like now I'm kind of spoiled for choice, and now I kind of miss that more simple life that I'm not as plugged into. I'm not as plugged into the internet and stuff, you know? And my solution to this is obviously do more social things with people. And like do more stuff with my friends. And I have been doing that kind of. I've been playing D&D. My D&D campaign that's lasted like 3 years or something. I've done my I've watched a movie with my friends, which actually that's actually a good movie to like kind of illustrate what I'm kind of going through, which is we watched this movie called Perfect Days, and it's a Japanese movie. It's a slice of life about a guy who objectively kind of has like a shitty job and a shitty like work and a shitty like home environment, like a cramped small apartment, but even having the life that he does, he's able to build connections with people and like find happiness and fulfillment through his work and his relationships with people and bonding with them. And like that was I really liked that movie. It really resonated with me, on top of the fact that the main guy in the movie, he reminded me of my grandpa. And like that simple life is something that that simple life is the life that I lived when I was back home over the summer. Going on a walk with my grandma, and then eating breakfast with her, playing on their original iPad. There's this game that only exists on that iPad. There's a chance that original iPad is the only device that still has the game that's on it. That's how like old it is, because it doesn't exist on the Apple or Google Play Store anymore. And like just my grandma taught me how to knit, and I got kind of into knitting And like, I also got, I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but I got back into cubing, like the Rubik's Cube, like solving the Rubik's Cube, and I really enjoyed that. I even picked up my guitar a little bit, played a little bit on it. Like, it was simple. I had good food every day for dinner. We went out. Like, it's a life that I'm not really living anymore, because a lot of the time I'm just like wasting my time on like YouTube, and Twitter especially is just poison, man. YouTube, it's not as much, but like, it's just poison, man. And even with Silk Song and stuff, that was a great time, don't get me wrong, but it also kind of like screwed me a little bit when it came to school, because I was just hyper fixated on Silk Song, and then as a result I didn't get into school mode and I'm behind. But I think through watching the self-improvement episode again, and just through like, I've started to take care of myself again, even though I have shitty days and shitty moments. I think overall my life is still on the up and up, you know. Like, I've been feeling really good when it comes to work and like socializing with people at work and hanging out with my friends and playing D&D and stuff. So it's not like I'm like, oh, I'm nowhere near rock bottom like I was in the beginning of the year, even though so much shitty things happen, even in between this episode and the last one. Not even with my grandpa dying. Like, there's just been like, I'm not gonna get too into it, but like the Charlie Kirk assassination, and then all the ICE raids that have been happening, and it's just like, and Trump making the country worse and worse. But this isn't a politics episode. It's just, I don't want to make this a politics episode. It's just to illustrate, like, there's been some dog shit going on, but I think still, overall, I'm still in a pretty good place. And I think if I can catch up with the schoolwork this term, I can start really back to where I was when I made that self-improvement episode. I can finally go back to feeling good. And it's paradoxical, but I finally get to the main idea of what I'm going to talk about this episode, is that creating things, I talk about this in the self-improvement episode too, but creating things is what really fulfills me. That's part of why I really like my food service job, is because I get to make shit that tastes good and that people enjoy eating, you know. That fulfills me. I want to make shit that people enjoy watching. I want to do more creative stuff. Like, in that self-improvement episode, I talked about a writing project that I was working on. Haven't made any progress since that episode, but I think I will be able to make progress when I like catch up. And like, I've generally felt pretty good. It's just like I have the moments where I'm just like on Twitter for like 4 hours. I think I just like to brainlessly scroll Twitter for 4 hours today or something crazy like that. So I'm definitely gonna block Twitter from my phone now. I'm gonna block the YouTube website and have the YouTube app on a timer. That's just a net positive for my life. But it feels like, especially Twitter, it just makes you mad, it makes you sad. It is kind of important, at least for me, to keep up to date with stuff. Like I found out about the events that I'm talking about from Twitter, and although they are depressing a lot of the time, it's important to know about what's going on in the world. So I'm gonna have to find a balance with that. I don't want to just completely remain oblivious. I think that's bad too. So I think it's still not a bad decision to stop using Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Because Twitter just makes you miserable. It makes you really lose faith in humanity. It makes you lose the spark in your eyes. It makes you lose hope with the world, when generally, even though things are bad right now, I can see that good things are still happening in the world, you know? And I think that's important to recognize, and I think that's important for keeping yourself sane, honestly. Because one thing that I've really been keeping in mind is that, like, dude, it's actually so cool that I'm alive still. Like, it's so cool to be living in a world with so many people and so many different, like, life experiences that I can have a window into, and it's just really nice to have that. And having a life purpose is something that I'm not sure about yet, but I think I'm working on it. And to have my life truly mean something and to truly be beautiful is like something that I still want to find, but I think I'm working on it still. And I think that having Twitter and stuff really inhibits that. Like, I really like making things, right? But with Twitter, it's like with Twitter, it's like it just kills my will to do really anything, and that's not good. I still want to be putting stuff out into the world, you know? So it's not all bad. I think keeping up with news is important, but yeah, it's just not what I want to be doing with my life. I want to be creating stuff, and I think creating stuff like this will help me, like, do work again too, which might be kind of weird to say, because what I'm not doing right now is doing my homework, but I think it's just so important to balance hustling and doing stuff with stuff you actually enjoy. And doing stuff that I enjoy makes me excited about the world and, like, being alive and stuff. And it's really, like, I think it encourages me to actually do work, you know. So we're getting deep this episode. We're getting really deep this episode. I think that there's a lot of cool shit in the world, and I want to experience all of that cool shit, you know? And I also want to be something that puts cool shit into the world as well. And this Stargrinding isn't exactly like art or anything. You could make the argument for it, you know? But yeah, it's just really cool. I like creating stuff. I really like that I am making this video right now, and I'm gonna put it out into the world, and then hopefully someone's gonna watch it. But even if no one does, I think even if no one watches this, it's still valuable to me to have made it, and it's meditative to put my thoughts all in order and in video. I think a lot of this episode was just incoherent rambling a little bit. I didn't really have cohesion with what I was talking about, but oh well. I haven't done it in a while, that's my excuse. But I'd really love to be able to actually pursue my passions with creating stuff, making videos, writing, doing these Stargrinding episodes, recording like things for other games that aren't GD, like the Hades, continuing on with the Hades and Calamity Terraria and all that stuff. It's really cool. And I think I'm making progress towards that, even though I'm not there yet. Even though I'm not there yet, I still have hope. And that's another thing that I kind of wanted to talk about too. Is like hope, which is such an interesting concept, because it's like hope can only really exist when things are bad, but it's such a like magical feeling to like actually be hopeful for where you're going in the world and where the world's going and everything, you know. And even now I'm pretty hopeful. I like to say I'm pretty hopeful when it comes to humanity in general. And that even though things are really bad right now, I genuinely think that they will get better in some capacity. Even though they're so bad right now. It's so bad right now, especially in America, especially. But I do think it'll get better. In America, at least. And there's something to say about like having hope is like a very privileged idea. I'm very privileged to even be hopeful. Like I'm not dirt poor and like one like debilitating injury away from my life basically being over. And I do think about that a lot, but I think it's important on an individual level to have hope and have like a thing you're working towards. Because otherwise, it's like, what's the point, you know? And there's very much an idea that I have, a philosophy that I subscribe to, is that like you're the one that makes life have meaning. Life doesn't inherently have a meaning. It has the meaning that you give it. And if you don't have hope for your life or like humanity, then that's when you've truly lost. Like, you don't lose when you fail, you lose when you give up. You lose when when you come to the conclusion that your life is meaningless and give in to that nihilism. And that's why I love the concept. By far, like, my favorite trope in media. My favorite trope is the tiny bit of hope in the bleakest of environments. That's why I think I'll really like shit like Berserk. That's why I think I'll really like that. Stuff like that. And I really like stuff like Made in Abyss. And that's why I really like Hollow Knight and Outer Wilds as well. Like, minor spoilers for Hollow Knight, I guess. They're not really like major themes of the game that I'm about to discuss or anything, but some of my favorite moments in Hollow Knight are when this theme is explored. When you sit and listen to Marissa sing, or when you don't kill the Nail Master and then he ends up with Shio and has a new purpose in life, or when my favorite of these is when you go to the stag nest and you find an empty eggshell, and then you go talk to the stag again, and then he's like, I long thought that I was the last of my kind, but now I have the hope that somewhere out there my species lives on. And his like name, like title card changes from the last stag to old stag, and that moment is just like it. I almost cry every time. It's just so beautiful. Moments like those are so beautiful. And I'm not going to talk about Outer Wilds any Outer Wilds plot here, but that's a very prevalent theme in Outer Wilds. And it's kind of in Celeste, too. Though it's more about like, it's not hope for like humanity, it's more hope in yourself and your self-confidence. But yeah, it's it's in like all my favorite games, man. And it's in all my favorite stories too, man. Basically, all that I'm trying to say is be a hopeful, whimsical person instead of a dead inside, nihilistic, husk. There's a lot to be whimsical about, there's a lot to be passionate about in the world still. As long as there are happy places in the world, I don't think humanity is cooked. And there are still a lot of those in the world. So yeah, that's like all I've been pondering recently. It's been a lot. I've been pondering a lot more lately because I got called out basically after, I think it was like after we watched that movie. A bunch of us just kind of talked for a while into the night, and then eventually it was just me and Carter mentioned, it was Carter and me, and we just talked about a bunch of stuff about like philosophy and psychology and like your classic 3 a.m. discussions, except it was by far the longest yap session I've ever been a part of, because we talked literally until the sun rose. The sun was rising when I got back to my house. The sun was rising. But it was a really good conversation. But basically, I got called out. He was like, you gotta ponder it more, man. It's because it was just him doing most of the talking and me just like listening and trying to absorb everything that it was trying to say, because we were going into some pretty abstract topics like, what does it mean to know something? What does it mean to have like a mind? Like, what is the mind? And like all that stuff, and like different philosophers and stuff. And I was mostly just listening and he was talking, and I was also contributing to the discussion a little bit, but it was mostly him doing most of the talking, and I got called out for it because it was like it was like 5 a.m. and I hadn't talked in like a significant amount of time. So I've been doing a lot of pondering recently, and it's mostly introspective stuff, so it's not really stuff that I can really talk to someone about unless it's like a therapist, but or just out loud into like OBS, into my Razer Siren Mini that I have in the corner of my desk as I play a Geometry Dash level with like surprisingly fitting music when it comes to me talking about this stuff. But I have been pondering recently, and I'm in a religion class, the religions of the world. I'm in a class for that this term, and I'm sure that I'll be pondering a lot when it comes to that. It is a class that I have to do a lot of catching up on, though, so I don't really have that much to talk about right now when it comes to it, but maybe we'll have a religion yap session later, because religion is something that I am really interested in. I think it's so interesting because the one thing that I did read from that class was like it was a book from a guy, and he's basically arguing that against the idea that all religions are the same, whereas the idea that all religions are the same is more of like a generalization, where it's like every religion is basically just about how to live your life, and every religion arrives at the same kind of ideas, where it's like how to be a good person, what it means to love yourself and like your fellow man. And it was arguing basically that it's a lot of people that say that have a bias towards their own religion and think that every religion is the same because every religion is basically their religion. And I thought that was a really interesting idea. And they basically argued that religion is a lot more complex than that, and religions have like different ideals, like the idea of heaven and hell and having like forgiveness for your sins is a very Christian idea, while I think it's Hinduism that's like more about reaching, like actually that's Buddhism, or maybe it's Hinduism too, where it's about like reaching nirvana, becoming enlightened. And becoming enlightened means something different to Christians and Buddhists and like more Eastern religions, I really should I really should read about what's in that class again, because it is really interesting. The one assignment that I did do from that class was very interesting. It's just like I just have an aversion to reading in general, because it's because I have ADHD. Probably, I'm not diagnosed, but it's probably because of that. And even though it's like really interesting, it's like I don't know. My brain just wants to go for the easy stuff, and that's why it's been opening Twitter a lot recently. The easy dopamine cycles and stuff. But something that I'd forgotten that I remembered in my remembered when I was listening back. I'm gonna do practice mode. When I was listening back to the self-improvement episode, was that if I'm not just mindlessly scrolling Twitter and I'm actually watching something that had effort and like soul and has artistic value and stuff, it's never a waste of time. I never come out of it feeling like I wasted my time. Even for things that I think are bad. And that's why I think like a lot of the times it's different because this isn't a textbook. I think a textbook is a lot more, it's a lot more clinical and it's a lot more dry, and but the material that we're reading in the religion class is someone's idea of the world and learning about other people's ideas of the world as well, and I think that's really interesting. So I think even though I definitely feel like my brain isn't wired to read like at all, I think it's when if I actually opened the book and did the assignment, I would find it very, very interesting. Like religion is something that really interests me. It's like religion and like philosophy and that stuff is something that interests me a lot. Actually. And that's also, to talk about socializing again, that's also kind of what makes it hard, because the conversations I enjoy most are like the deep ones, you know, that you can't exactly just have at any moment, you know. I really like talking about religion and like philosophy and politics. I think politics is really interesting as well, but I can understand why not everyone wants to really talk about that stuff. But I think it's really interesting, and I think I'm very into a lot of very niche communities, VTuber community, even anime community. The anime that I want to talk about the most are the anime that are like, this sounds so pretentious, but like more underground and like more Jesus Christ, that's so much still. But I have a lot to talk about still. So yeah, the communities I'm in, like the VTuber community, and like the shit I'm autistic about, basically, is all so niche. Like, I'm not only just autistic about VTubers. The thing that interests me the most about VTubers, well, it's not really a VTubers in general thing, it's more of a Hololive thing, is like the lore of the actual characters. I think that's so interesting. And even people that watch VTubers aren't necessarily interested in that stuff. They just want to watch funny people do fun things, which is fair. That's why they exist, you know. I just like geek out about stuff that even in their specific sub-communities are like not talked about that much. Like my favorite part about Hollow Knight is that idea of hope in a hopeless place, and the characters that you meet along the way, and you see a lot of love for the characters of Hollow Knight, for sure. But a lot of the discussion is mostly about like the overall story and like the bosses and the gameplay and all that stuff, which is all fine. I really like talking about that stuff too, but the stuff that really, really gets me going is the story of specific characters, which Like Silksong definitely has that, but I think it has it less than the original. Which I'll get into that. I'll get into that in the Silksong episode that will happen. But yeah, but I think it's generally easier to talk to people because, especially, dude, I love talking to yappers, man. Because yappers, you don't have the problem of like responding, because they'll usually say something interesting while they're like yapping about whatever. They'll usually say something interesting that I can like latch onto, and then I can like make the conversation about that. It's not just like, oh yeah, I've just been playing games lately, and then that's like the end of the conversation, you know? Like, I'm so excited. One of my coworkers at work said they were gonna go try to kill a bear. Kill a bear this, like, this past Friday. They said they were gonna go do that. I'm so excited to ask him about that later. I'm so excited to ask him about that. Even if we didn't catch it, I want to ask about like what he actually did, you know? Because that's so interesting. That's not something that I would ever imagine myself doing. And sometimes I get shy about asking stuff too, but that's just something I have to work on. A lot of the time, I'm like, I want to ask people, like, not my coworkers, but more like my bosses and stuff, like how they ended up where they're at, and like stuff they enjoy about their job and what they don't. But it kind of does feel awkward to ask about that stuff sometimes, because you are also trying to get a job done at the same time, you know. But sometimes you just ask, right? Like, I think what I've really learned the most about social anxiety and social interaction as a whole is that, like, as long as the question isn't super weird or invasive, people will just answer your question. Like, even if it kind of comes out of nowhere, it's just like they'll still just answer it. They might think it's a little bit weird, but like, especially if like they get that you're just trying to make conversation, they'll just answer it, and then that's how the conversation starts, and then that's how you can get to talking about like really interesting stuff potentially. That's how you get to talking about how like you're gonna go try to hunt a bear. You know, it's how like I've talked about anime with some of my coworkers and like what they think of it and everything, and I got recommended a show that I might check out later, you know. Basically, life not amazing right now, but still pretty good. I'm taking care of myself actually. And like, even though I do rot away a lot of the time, I still generally don't feel terrible, you know. Even though I did rot for a lot of the time today, I still came out of it and be like, ugh, why'd I do that? But I don't feel terrible about myself, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's definitely an improvement from where I was at earlier this year. Especially right after like my grandpa died and stuff. Um, but yeah, that's all that hour is all that is basically to say where I'm at, and hopefully where I'm going to be past me recording this episode is I'm going to be in a good place. I'm going to have some I'm going to be improving on myself, and I'm going to be having a great time, having a great life, which is something that I haven't really had the past years of college. Even though I've had like a generally great time, my mental health during that time hasn't been the greatest, but now it's a lot better, and I think that that's really cool. Like, I'm in what you could describe as a rut, but like I'm still feeling plenty of whimsy. I'm still feeling plenty of childlike wonder at the world. So I think, you know what? Even though I'm in kind of a rut a little bit, I'm all right. I'll be all right, I think. Unless barring something terribly catastrophic, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good. And I think you know what? A big reason why I've been able to have more whimsy and see the world for all of its beauty and stuff. It's gonna sound insane. It's a VTuber I watch, man. VTubers continue to be just like really awesome. I don't know really how else to say it, because actually I don't know what the actual definition of whimsy is, but to me it's whimsy is like the excitement of life, and just like being genuinely excited to live life and to experience it to the fullest. I think that's what whimsy is to me. It's like having a life purpose and like all that stuff. And I have honestly Carter to thank for that a little bit too. But we're not talking about it right now. We're talking about a VTuber that I like watching. But yeah, Carter has genuinely been like someone I look up to a lot, because I remember once we were joking around in like a group chat that we have together with him, that I'm in with him and another one of my friends, and then he was just talking about how it's like I'm just so whimsy pilled and like some brain rot language like that, and like I'm just so happy to wake up to another joyous day. And then I asked him, I was like, do you genuinely live your life like this, and do you genuinely think this? And then he was like, yeah. And I'm like, that's so cool. I want to be like that too, and I'll be it in my own way, of course, but generally an inspiration. And I think this, even just being able to talk so openly, like about this stuff, like it's pretty vulnerable to like really talk about what you've been going through and how it's really hard, especially as a man, to talk about how special some people are in your life, you know? And for me to be able to talk about this with like almost no resistance is, I'm actually surprised with myself how open I am to be myself this episode, you know? Like normally when I'm talking about VTubers, I'm like, yeah, it's dumb, it's cringe, yeah, I know it's dumb and cringe, but like there's this VTuber, I'm like, fuck, VTubers are fucking awesome, man. And that's another sign that you know what, I think I'm doing pretty well actually. I think I place a lot of my self-worth on how I'm doing in school, and although should be, I don't know if it necessarily should be a big part of it, but it is definitely very important, you know? There's so much more to life than school, and like, even though I can't fathom it really right now, I think, I know one day I'm just not going to be in school anymore. Homework will not be a thing I'll have to worry about anymore. I'll have like a real job to worry about and all that. And like, to place so much self-worth on a phase of my life that ultimately is important for sure, but isn't like won't be insanely relevant all of my life, I think is a little bit silly. And I think I was feeling a little bit bad about myself this week, even though I have been like improving my life and stuff, just because I haven't been able to catch up just with school as much as I thought I would be able to. But you know what? I'm just gonna like take it at my own pace. I'm gonna try my hardest to do well, and then we'll see how that goes. And right now I think it'll go well. It might not go well. I actually really hope it does go well, because if it doesn't, then that's like more money my parents have to spend. So there is that element of it, and that's another element of why it's like so. I'm skipping this. I don't want to play this slow anymore. That's another reason why I'm kind of place so much of self-worth into school, right? Is because I don't want to be a financial burden to my parents anymore. But I think I'll be all right. You know what? I'll be all right. And that's like the main. That's why I do this stuff, man. That's why I do this stuff, especially not this stuff as in like making content in general, but this is why I do Stargrinding, because I can kind of recenter myself and really talk myself through everything I'm going through, and make some self-discoveries along the way. Because I never thought about how much self-worth I put into being a good student and stuff, you know? I never pondered that before. And now I'm just doing it live. So yeah, I think I'll be alright. But now getting back into topic. Whimsy. Carter has been a goat as always. But the main reason I brought this up is the VTuber I watch, Gigi Murin. She is a VTuber that debuted only a year ago, so she hasn't been around that long. Around Hollywood that long. She's been a VTuber for longer, obviously. That's neither here nor there. But I initially didn't really vibe with her that much. I thought she wouldn't really be for me. But then I just like, all of the stuff that I've been talking about is stuff that she talks about too. Like, she's just like a real one in my eyes. And she talks a lot about whimsy as well, and going through the world with like a happy mindset and everything, and it's so cool to see her succeed and have other people recognize her for, like, she's just so awesome. She's just so awesome. I don't really know how else to describe her. But it's just like, basically what I'm, wait, what happened? What? Did levels get added? Did new levels get rated in the time that what happened? Where's the levels that I just beat? Am I crazy? I probably have, you know what? I probably have, do I have uncompleted on checked? Yeah, I do. So if I go back, 65. Uh-oh. I think I've lost my place, actually. Okay, here we go. Yeah. This was the last one. That's what I thought. Okay. Well, anyways. Yeah. Something that I just hear in my head and it just like makes me smile is that she says like, never, in like an overly like obviously putting on a show type of voice, but she's like, never let them take away that twinkle in your eye. And it's just like, it's almost cheesy, but I don't know, she just, and it sounds cheesy when I say that, but I don't know, it just works when she says it, man. It just like genuinely motivates me to like do stuff sometimes. And when she one of, I think it was her last thing that she did with Fauna, the VTuber that graduated, that I talked about earlier this year, at the beginning of this year, is she was like, what a beautiful, joyous day. And it's just like, she's just so positive, so insanely just like positive, and just like a really happy person that it just rubs off on everyone around her, and everyone in that like collabs with her loves her and everything. And it's just, she's so awesome. I think she's probably my favorite, my new favorite. So if I ever make a video about her, about like her, and title it "My Favorite Streamer is X," then you know it's her. Then you know it's again a different person. Because every time I've used my favorite streamer is X, it's been a different person. So, but Northern Lion is still my goat, though. Northern Lion is still my goat, but anyways, I think this was a banger episode. So it was. How about that? If I think it's banger, then it is. Isn't that beautiful? That's the beauty of creating your own shit. But anyway, yeah, I think this was a really good episode. I think I got my thoughts sorted out. This was like a therapy session. This was like the most therapy session of an episode that I thought it would be. And I thought like the grief one and like the self-improvement one and like the doing things that are uncomfortable one would be the therapy episodes. I didn't go into this thinking that it would be so therapeutic, but it's like, it's just like I've been thinking about a lot, so, and I don't really talk about this stuff specifically with anybody really, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. And I hope that you have, as always, a wonderful morning, afternoon, and evening. My name is Remblob, and I'm gonna have to figure out how the fuck I'm gonna title this episode. Goodbye.